Should a man who doesn't have a lot of money get married?
I know someone who says you can't put love on the stove. You need food, you need money. So we're gonna have to wait. If it's 5 years, okay, let's wait. There are ladies that are like, well, in my family, like minimum 50K because I went to school, I did this, I did that. There is like that demographic of women.
Everything they put in that she's got a house, I've got a house too. She's got a car, I've got a car too.
Yeah.
So
She's got a degree, I've got a degree too. My dad like grilled into me was, as a woman, you always need to make sure you're independent, you have your own money.
To another episode of Mindset Profits. I am sitting with the one and only Marj Kupps, a very ever-trending TikToker, an amazing creator who took out a video some time ago. How far back was this?
This was a couple of months ago.
Couple of months ago. Took out a video about lobola, bride price, dowry, and I don't know how you understand it to be. If you're not in Africa, I'm sorry, but you'll catch up, don't worry. But she took out a video about how her family didn't want to put a price on her head during the lobola negotiations. Put it out and the internet went crazy. The video went viral. And as a father as well who has a daughter, it's a question I keep having and wrestling with myself to say, when it comes to the time that she's getting married, am I going to charge the lobola and how is that going to go? And it's a question that sits with a lot of women, especially African women, that are builders, because you are building, you have a business, you've got a career, you've got a great salary. And at some point, when it comes to getting married, your family gets to have those negotiations. I've seen situations where those negotiations go really well, which is the case today. And welcome, Marj.
Thank you so much.
But I've also seen situations where this goes sideways and this goes bad and it hurts the relationship. The two that are supposed to be loving each other and building something special. Because of this, their relationship gets tainted to struggle for the next decade or two. But without further ado, welcome.
Thank you so much.
And I feel excited sitting with a good creator. Sitting next to a good creator.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Someone who just owns the mic. Explain your talent, Marj, before we deep dive.
My talent?
Yes.
I think I've got a voice that I want to use. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always enjoyed being on stage, having an audience. I've always just lit up when there's an audience or a mic.
All it takes is just an audience and a mic.
And I just
you go.
light up.
Okay, let's talk about the video. Let's go right at the beginning when you took it out. First off, what's your understanding of lobola, what it is? So we give maybe someone who is in Europe somewhere a bit of context as to what we are talking about, because this is African culture for the most part. I know there are other cultures that have it in different ways. But what's your understanding of it and what happened when you took out the video?
Okay, my understanding of lobola is that it is two families coming together, becoming one family because of a marriage. And I actually did a little bit of research. I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he was saying that back in the day, how it actually was that the groom's family would give cattle, livestock, to the bride's family as a way to say, we are taking one person from your household. We're leaving a gap in your household, but just to try and compensate for that, we know we can't fully compensate for it, but to try and compensate for that, we are going to give you livestock, cattle that you can slaughter and eat when things get rough, when the going gets tough, because we've taken someone from your household who was going to contribute to the household.
So that's what it was about.
Yes.
How do you think it changed since then?
Well, now it's very different. You can EFT the lobola. You can just go in your banking app and just send that money. Now it's very different. It's very monetary. There's a lot of financial pressure on it now. And I think a lot of people have lost that original meaning that it was actually about people coming together, families coming together.
And compensation for a gap that you're leaving. So it's
family.
compensation or gratitude for the person that you're giving us. Which one
Well, how it was back then, it's compensation. It's compensation, but I think that there needs to be a humility that's carried into lobola negotiations from the onset. You need to understand you can't fully ever compensate for a human being. So the livestock, it was just, let me try and compensate you. But I know I cannot fully compensate for taking your daughter.
Okay, what happened with your negotiations when you were getting married? Because that's what made you trend.
Yes. So the time came for me to have my lobola after my then boyfriend had proposed. He was now my fiance, and my dad just sat me down, actually both my parents, and they said, you are priceless to us. There's no price we can put on your head. It's not possible to put a price on a human being's head. It's priceless. I mean, in some world, if we had to charge, there's like no one can afford another human being. So there's just no way he could ever afford you if we're going to speak in those terms. So out of, almost kindness and mercy, he can give us whatever he has saved up. That is okay with us.
Let me ask in two ways. One, what if he had come and said, all I have is 5,000? Like, come on the day, because you gave me the offer. You said, bring what you have.
Yeah.
What if he had come and just said, guys, this is what I have?
I still think my dad would have been kind and been like, okay.
Did you ask your dad that what would you have done if he had just come with something small?
I didn't. But knowing my dad's character and what he wanted from this whole lobola thing was just for his daughter to go away a good send-off for the families to come together. So I don't even think he wanted the money necessarily, because I know that it was also like split. Like he gave some to my brothers, and so it wasn't about money for him. It was just like, well, I guess culturally I have to take money from him, but he didn't really want the money from what I understand.
I think I need to have a chat with him for some mentorship. I'm kind of leaning towards thinking in that direction, even with my kids. Mm-hmm. But I would like to understand from someone who's done it what his thinking was.
The kind of thought process.
Yeah, but let's look at the other scenario. What if he's a man with an ego and you give that offer to say, we're not going to charge you, charge yourself? Mm-hmm. To me, it lands as prove that you've got this. Prove that you can take care of her.
You tell us how much you think she's worth.
You tell us how much she's worth. Now, that's a bigger question, right?
Yeah.
Those two, how much do you think she's worth and how much do you have in terms of capacity as a man? Like, what are you worth? What's the size of your pocket? Now, when those two questions are running in my mind, a whole lot of inflation happens. And that statement, which is supposed to be a kind gesture, can backfire because of just who I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think ego has to be taken out of it, because both my husband and my dad are actually really humble guys. My husband, he's never been the kind of person to be like, oh, I need to prove. He's actually very self-assured. He had a home. He had a stable job. So it was clear he could.
Had the proof.
He had the proof that I can take care of her. Like, I'm okay. I'm surviving. I can take care of her. The proof was there. He had spent time at my house, at my parents' home. So they also got to know him. I think that helped, that they knew his character and they knew him as a person. So I think that helped as well on both sides.
Okay. When you say he spent time at home, this is you dating and going at home? Or you mean you got to introduce? That was another
thing that I revealed that people were just kind of shocked. We dated at home in a sense because, again, my dad said, you guys don't always need to go to restaurants. You can literally just bring your boyfriend here and date in the house.
You took the questions right out of my head. How did that work?
It went fine. So he would come over to the house and we would maybe cook together, cook dinner for my family. And when
together?
The two of us would be cooking for my family. And that's a way to get to know each other as well. Or we would sit in the lounge. It's an open lounge, so my parents would be able to see, peep, you guys still behaving. But we were able to like have private conversations, get to know each other.
Unconventional parents.
I think so.
Would you handle this the same for your kids?
Yes, because I think that you're kind of forced to have honesty when you have to date in front of the parents. It's not hidden. I think that a lot of things can happen when a relationship is hidden. So it was in the open. Like, it was right there in front of my dad.
Wow. Well, I'm glad it worked out. So I have a question. I asked you where your passion sits with this and what you'd really want someone listening to take away.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you're saying is a passion point for you, or a sore point, is a lot of young people start marriages in debt because of this.
Yes.
Because of the two big transactions. The bride price gets the groom in debt, and the wedding it multiplies and compounds that debt.
So I think there's two things actually for me, 2 points that I want to come across. I think that there's the one scenario where the guy can afford, let's say, 500K. He can afford it. It's fine. He's got the money. But as humans, there's something in us when you pay 500K, you're going to expect that, I've paid for you.
I need to get 500K.
Like, yeah, we're married. I did pay like a lot of money for you. Can you act like I paid? I feel like as humans, there is that thought process. And maybe that was part of my dad's reasoning. He didn't want a man to feel like he's bought me, like he owns me. Because my dad was like, whoa, you can't buy her. She's not for sale to begin with. I think that's one of my dad's fears, like for his daughter to be in a marriage where a man feels like, I bought you, I did pay you 500K. Do this and that for me because I paid this amount of money. And then the other scenario is, like you're saying, where the guy really doesn't have that money. Now he's got to take out a loan. Now he's got to ask for money. And now the relationship starts on a deficit financially because he didn't have the kind of money that they charged him in the first place. Yeah.
So out of a simple tradition that is based on culture, families put a couple in trouble. And I think what I've seen hurts more is they put this couple in trouble, and a year later they are coming asking for help. Like the family is asking for help from the couple, and the guy is resentful because he's thinking, what happened to the money I gave you?
Yeah. It's actually interesting in the South African culture. I've heard, because I'm originally from Zimbabwe, that's where my parents are from. Okay. So in Zimbabwe and South Africa, it's a little bit different how lobola is done, in the sense that in Zimbabwe, the lobola money is not even used for the wedding. Like the parents are like, don't even ask us to help you with the wedding. So now you need to fork out more money for the wedding.
All the lobola money is for the parents.
Yeah, it's just
to do whatever they want
for them to pocket. Although in South African culture, they've said that in some cultures, they say, okay, you've paid us lobola money, we're going to put that money towards the wedding, that's great. That's helpful. Anything to help the couple on their feet financially.
All right. So, which is good, because that is one scenario where this can create debt that the couple carries into the marriage. And some couples, because of what happens after that, maybe don't recover. And financially, they take a hit, which means the relationship starts on shaky ground. But I've seen other scenarios as well, which I want your views on this. I've seen situations where the negotiations go so badly that there's a couple I know, the husband was told that this is some budget that you can bring. When he got there, the inflation happened, the lobola was doubled. Like you weren't expecting to pay a certain amount.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be the same amount that you're expecting, obviously, but
it doubled.
Not double. It doubled.
Yeah.
And because he was angry with how things happened there, that resentment carried over into the wedding, the marriage, and it took over 10 years for the families to even talk. Because you've got one side saying you guys are greedy, you've got the other side saying we gave you a superstar doctor, so what did you expect?
Yeah.
She has a degree, she's got this, she's got a business, she's got a career.
And I like that you're highlighting the relationships with the family, because when it's done that way, the family can not even come to the couple and say, well, please help us with groceries, because the groom is like, how? I gave you guys a lot of money. Why are you still asking us for anything? Whereas in our case, like my husband does things for my parents all the time, because in a way he feels he's always indebted to them. So he's like, hey, I'll do anything. If they ask for it, I'll do anything.
Hey, what came out in the comments when you put out the video? What stood out for you?
A lot of people were very upset.
Upset?
Yeah,
so that was triggering.
Yeah, a lot of people were very upset. Obviously, there's people who have this mindset that I'm educated. Like a guy should obviously pay 100K for me. Like, what are you saying? A lot of the guys were happy. They were like,
there were ladies that say that.
Yeah, they're ladies.
I'm worth 100K.
Yeah, they're ladies that are like, well, in my family, like minimum 50K, because I went to school, I did this, I did that. There is like that demographic of women.
And the guys?
The guys were very happy. The guys were like, oh, thank goodness, finally someone said it. Someone said, because guys also brought out interesting comments like, well, your father is charging me that you're educated. I'm also educated.
Yeah, everything they put in, that she's got a house, I've got a house too. She's got a car, I've got a car too.
Yeah,
so
she's got a degree, I've got a degree too. So what then?
What did you learn from the comments?
That this is something that affects every household, whether it's guys, because one day they will want to pay lobola for a girl, whether it's women, because one day you will be married and that will come up. And also I think as girls, you know that you play a part, because you can have conversations with your family where you say, listen, this is what he has. He can't afford X amount. Can we go easier on him? Can we stick to this ballpark? And then also for parents, there were parents in my comments as well that were like, I've never thought of doing it that way.
Where they say, I've never thought of doing it that way, but I will, or I'm thinking of it, or this is not something I'd ever do.
I feel like it was like a 50-50 split, because there were also people that were like, well, does that mean you were giving away for free? You know, like comments like that, where people are like, well, were you giving away for free then? And obviously because of cultural norms, the script that we've been given culturally, it's hard for people to understand that. Like, so you were just given away? They didn't charge you?
How did your fiancé take it when he got the news from your dad that bring whatever you have?
He was happy. He was like, yay, that's great. he was happy, because it does mean less pressure in a sense, but then again, you have to show seriousness. You can't show up with like, just anything. You also have to show that I did save, I did work for this. So yeah, I think
when you look at this, all the experience, the comments, what you've learned, what you've experienced, do you think women are not considered in this equation when it comes to how much is going to get charged? Because what I've seen is the young lady does not know, gets just as surprised.
Yeah, I think women are not
like
considered.
Your opinion, you're our daughter, but your opinion doesn't matter. It's us thing, it's a culture thing.
Yeah, I think that is accurate to say that. As a woman, it's just like we like the uncles are like, hey, stay out of this. We are here to charge. This has nothing to, yes, you fell in love, that's cute, great for you, but this is about us now. They take it like this is our department. I think women are really consulted.
What do you think should change? If you had the power to, what would you change?
I think more conversations with the woman, right? The bride, to understand what her guy is capable of paying. Firstly, what his pocket is like. Okay, what is he like? Because in my culture, we do have that as well, that provision where the aunt asks on behalf of your father, what can he afford? What is the ballpark? So that when they charge, it is in that ballpark. So obviously the bride has a part in that, because she has to ask her fiance.
So in your culture, there is some kind of consultation.
Yeah, there is still some kind of consultation of what can he afford? What are we working with?
Isn't that a dangerous one though? Still, because you want to make sure you tell them that my boyfriend is good for it. You could be the one that's inflating things.
But
look, you said women went into the comments and said he has to pay 100K for me. I'm worth this. Some will say he has to pay 200 for me because I believe I'm 200. Now, if they go and consult that one, and what do you think she's gonna say to them?
You see, that mindset is already not conducive to marriage, in my opinion, because in marriage, you can't be going into marriage thinking, well, I'm worth 100K, but that money is coming out of your joint pocket. What you're not really, it's not coming out of his pocket because you guys will be one. It's coming out of your pocket together and your pocket for your future. So it's not smart to be like, well, I think I'm worth 50K. It's coming out of your money together. What you guys would have used to maybe buy a house, start a life together. Now we're taking out 100K to prove that you are worth 100K.
And the debt he gets becomes your debt after marriage.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Your debt together. All right. So I can see you come from an unconventional family. Have you ever talked to your dad and asked why he thinks in that way?
Yeah, my dad's
Or you think it's the main thing you mentioned earlier that you are scared to put a price because he doesn't want a man feeling like he bought you? Was that the main driver or there's other things that you see?
I do think that's the main driver. Because if there's one thing that my dad grilled into me was, as a woman, you always need to make sure you're independent, you have your own money. A man should not be able to tell you, well, pack up your little suitcase and leave because when you came here, everything was already mine. You just moved into my mansion. You just take your little suitcase and go. My dad was always passionate about me building with a man so that I also have my stake, my share in the partnership. So I do think that influenced how he approached lobola because he didn't want a man to feel like he owns me.
So you come in also as a builder. What do you have to say to people who are a woman who's in a relationship with a guy who doesn't have the money but has got the potential? Like you're dating this guy because you see the potential.
Yeah.
You believe in the potential and you're ready to build, but he doesn't have the money.
I think building together is beautiful. Potential is beautiful, but there's a line. You know, potential is beautiful, but does he have a job at least? If someone has a job at least, great. Have a home at least, a few pieces of furniture.
Have you ever watched Acrimony?
Yes, I have.
That situation.
Where you invest in a man because you see the potential, you invest. Yeah, I think potential, it needs to be balanced. You know, you can't pick someone who they don't even have a source of income and you're like, well, I see the potential. That's a bit risky. He has to at least potential. What does the potential look like? Does he have a job? Is he earning? Does he have ideas on how he's going to get from point A to point B? What does that potential look like? Is it tangible and not just ideas?
Now that's going to be so relative. You know, the question that's running in my mind, and I hope you can answer it for me. I don't know what you think. Should a man who doesn't have a lot of money get married?
I think he can.
Because it sits right in what you're answering right now.
Yeah, I think he can.
Because if he doesn't have the money, then it's potential that the woman is seeing.
At least have money for rent. But then I think he can get married if he doesn't have a lot of money.
What if it's not there and it's the woman that has the money, that's the builder? But the woman sees the potential. Because it complicates the lobola. If you believe in your fiancé, let's say you and your husband, let's say you back to your fiancé. You loved him, you believed in him, right? You saw the potential. If he lost his job a month or two before those negotiations, your belief in him doesn't change. You still believe in him.
That's
and
true.
your love in him doesn't change, but he doesn't have the money anymore. And he still wants to marry you. What do you tell him?
Let's wait.
For how long?
Until you get a job. At the end of the day,
that's 2 or 3 years.
I know someone who says you can't put love on the stove. You need food. You need money. So we're going to have to wait. If it's 5 years, okay, let's wait.
Isn't that making money a bigger portion of the equation, though, than your love?
No, it's just being
because
realistic.
The weird thing about this, I'm asking for curiosity. The weird thing about this is if this happened and it happened to the woman, the man goes ahead and marries her.
That's true.
Without question.
Yeah.
But because now you're the woman and it happens to me, the dynamics change. Don't you think that's a bit unfair?
Not really. I think men have a lot of ego. And I think that if you were with a man who has nothing and you are the one feeding him, he will become resentful. Because a man, he needs to like be a provider. He feels that need. So now I think there's a quiet resentment that grows in a relationship when a man, he's got nothing. So you need to wait for him to get some coins.
I was hoping you would change and say, okay, I see your point. I think I'd still marry him.
I'm sticking to it.
Happy you heard. She was not going to marry you. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You would have told him to wait.
Yeah, I would have said, let's wait.
Because, look, I'm saying it out as a scenario, but it literally did happen to me. I lost my business just before getting married.
And
I went on ahead with it, got into debt, things got bad, but that literally happened.
Okay, so now that you did it, would you recommend this?
Reverse psychology. Reflecting back, I should have waited. I should have waited and fixed things, because what followed, the debt that got accrued, was damaging to my confidence. And that's something you don't want to lose as a man trying to build. And as a man going on a journey that's new.
Yeah, I think that's what mostly this conversation is about. Marriage, it's a new journey. It's already delicate. You don't want to pile things on top of it. Debt, or somebody that doesn't have a job. You want to make sure financially you are at least, you don't have to be rich, but at least you can pay your rent, you can buy food, go on dates. That's nice.
What advice do you have for young couples? You've had experience as a young couple now, getting into this new journey. You post about it. It looks like it's a very amazing experience for you.
Yeah, it is.
What advice do you have for young couples at your stage?
I would say the most important thing is not to be so concerned about what people think. Because a couple of, I don't know if it was months at this point or years, I posted that we had a debt-free wedding. So we made sure that with our wedding, we keep it as small as possible. And we wanted to make sure that on the day of the wedding, we have no outstanding invoices. There's nothing else we need to pay. Like, it's fine. And I remember my husband saying to me, even if people have KFC, as long as I've married you. They didn't have KFC, but that was the mindset.
I was going to ask.
That was the mindset of, this is about us coming together. If it means we are going to disappoint some people because our wedding doesn't look lavish, doesn't look fancy, or even newly married life, you may not have the fanciest apartment, the fanciest car, but that, you don't need to worry about how it looks. Like, does it look like we are successful? Does it look like we are happy? Does it look like our wedding had a lot of money in it? Forget about that. Like, what people think. I think that's one thing that derails people from financial wellness.
That's what your husband was saying. Where were you? Because you also contribute to this.
The wedding chat.
In this, yeah.
Well, I'm a girl, so like obviously I wanted the fancy things. I was so worried about the wedding looking perfect and people having, 3-course meal or whatever. And he was just like, that doesn't matter. These people can have KFC. I don't care. I just want to go home with my wife.
And now, where are you at after the experience and after the debt-free wedding?
It felt amazing, first of all, to be stepping into a marriage on zero, like not minus 1,000, because you need to still pay an invoice for 1,000, like nothing that we had to pay for. It felt amazing, like, wow, okay, this is page one, it feels amazing. We're still building, but it feels amazing to know that we didn't have to carry anything from our dating life into our marriage.
Not debt from the wedding, not debt from the lobola.
None of that. Yeah.
Would you advise? I think I need to talk to your dad because I need
you
to.
do.
Because I think the question I was about to ask is more for him actually, because I'm thinking what needs to change in terms of how Africans think about this part, the lobola, the bride price. What needs to change? Because I feel like at some point with some families, this is not universal. At some point, it almost became like a business transaction, an opportunity to make money and ignore what it's actually for. Which is two families coming together, a celebration of love, and other families ignore the damage that it can cause to the relationship they're trying to see get built.
I do think that getting over in South African terms, abantu bazwethini mindset, what are people going to say is important. Because even during my lobola, like just before it happened, there were some people that were like, oh, but what are people going to say though? What are people going to say that we are just letting this guy take our daughter
precious
for who knows how much? Like you said, if he says I'm bringing 5,000, what are people going to say? There were those conversations, and I had to just block them out and be like, you know what? We are going to be financially good. That's what matters. So I think the mindset needs to change from these cultures and traditions that it's not about showing people or making money, making a profit out of it. It's about the financial wellness of the couple on day one of their marriage.
Did he have people teaching him about this and just culture and looking at culture different and questioning culture? Because it looks like you do that very well. You question.
I do that for the both of us. My fiance at the time.
No, your dad.
Oh, my dad. Did he have... my dad is very like... For example, with us dating, right? And my dad saying, it was like our first week.
You can date at home.
You can date at home. I remember his brother, I think this was our first week dating. And in the cultural way of doing things, the boyfriend is supposed to go to the dad's brother, so to the uncle first. Yeah. You don't just directly go to the dad. That's like so disrespectful. And my dad was like, no, like let him come for dinner. This was like our first week of dating. Like, no, let him come to the house.
Okay.
And obviously his brother was like, what are you doing? So I think there are definitely people in the family that would, at those instances, whether it was lobola or us dating, look at my dad.
This is not how it should be done.
Okay, that's not really how we do it, but okay.
What do they say now when they see how things turned out? Because you guys turned out pretty fine. Don't they come and say, now we see what he was on about?
I haven't really heard anything. I don't know. I don't know what people think. But yeah, we're happy. So we're fine.
I'm happy for you. All right. So with the content that you're taking out, what's your intention now going forward? What's the future like? Because you want to educate people around this and other things. Well,
I started a podcast because, you need to do things that make you feel uncomfortable, and if you feel like you've got something to say, then say it. So in this podcast, I specifically want to tackle topics that people don't question. So essentially inherited beliefs, because I believe that sometimes the hardest thing is not changing your life, but it's actually questioning the inherited beliefs that you've got. So I want to touch on topics like, for example, we've now discussed the bride price. And then from my grandmothers, there's so much advice that I received or things that I saw happen that I'm like, can we question those inherited beliefs? Does it really have to be that way, or can we do it different? Well, something that my grandmother has said that I've also shared online when it comes to friendships, she said, don't ever let your friends into your home. Which is such a controversial thing to say, because
like women, like girlfriends.
Yes, women. Like don't ever let them into your home. Just meet elsewhere, not in your house, because there's envy and jealousy that happens in friendships. So just protect yourself and just never let them into your home. So that's something that I would like to question. I don't think that these narrative beliefs are bad in themselves. There's a reason why my grandmother said that, or why the bride price was done a certain way. People have their reasons, but I want to question why. Can we maybe do it differently?
Okay.
So that's...
I'm with your grandma, by the way, but
okay.
I've seen stuff happen.
Yeah.
Stuff happening with friends coming. Yeah.
Yeah. My grandmother's probably also seen stuff. So we have agreed to disagree at this thing for now. I'm like, I'm going to let my friends come to my house.
Okay. I'll leave you with a question on that.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when you convince, because you are articulate and you can explain stuff really well, right? If you convince a girl to allow her friends in and one of the friends ends up having an affair with the hubby because you made her drop her guard.
Okay, I let her drop her guard, and now something has happened in the friendship where she's gotten betrayed.
Yep.
I think
it's just a question I'm leaving you.
Okay.
You don't have to answer. You are not ready for this one.
Okay.
Just
something to keep in mind.
Because as creators, sometimes there's second order consequences, right? There's our lived experience and how we interpret things. There's how the person that listens has experienced that and interprets and what they go on and do. Sometimes what they go on and do and the consequence is not what we intended.
That's true.
You intended to just challenge mindsets. You let someone drop their guard and then they come to you and say, because of what you shared, my happy
had an affair with my friend.
She's pregnant now.
Okay, I hear you.
Think about when you balance those things out. Because like I said, maybe I'm saying this because I'm with grandma. I've got
lived experience.
Lived experience. At our age, we've seen stuff.
Yeah. At my age, everything is still, new and no, it's fine. I can let a friend in.
No, but think about those things.
Okay.
What can people look forward to when they follow you?
They can look forward to depth. I've been thinking recently with my content that instead of going wide, I need to go deeper. So the topics that I've already talked about, which are, challenging culture and tradition, friendships. As I'm experiencing friendships, I'm sharing. When something happens, I share. Hey, I now have a different mindset. Hey, this friendship breakup taught me A, B, C, D. I'm sharing as I'm going through this journey. In your 20s, so much happens with relationships, and I'm sharing that openly with whether it comes to family or friendships or romantic relationships. I'm sharing what that looks like, those changing relationships and the growth.
Well, you're already flying on TikTok, so growth is pretty much guaranteed. So I wish you all the best. This has been good and refreshing.
Thank you so much. This is fun.
I wish at some point, I guess I'll get my daughter to visit you for some
That would be
mentorship.
nice. I'd love to meet your daughter.
Thank you. Thank you for hanging with us till this time. Let us know what you think. Let me leave you with another question. If Lobola were to be taken away, who do you think loses? Or what do you think happens?
That is such a good question.
What does marriage look like?
I think as Black people would lose our culture. Because this conversation is not saying let's become Caucasian. Let's become Western. We have our ways of doing things as Black people. We have things that make us Black people, our history, our ways of doing things. So I think doing away with it completely takes away who we are as Black people.
That is a brilliant answer. Give us your answer. See you in the next episode, and thank you.